Welcome to the webinar TIGMEN, a message of charity, conscience and human rights, co-organized by CESNUR and by Human Rights Without Frontiers. And thank you for having asked me to chair and introduce its first session. My field is the study and prevention of disasters. And when I hear the word charity, I associate it with one of the saddest disasters in European history, the fire at Paris Bazaar of Charity of May 4, 1897. The Bazaar of Charity was among the first of its kind in Europe and consisted of a sale of used items for the benefit of the poor. The aristocrats and the rich brought their goods there, and several of them worked in the bazaar as volunteers. The 1897 bazaar was organized in a wooden warehouse, including the reconstruction of a street in medieval Paris, where houses were mostly built in wood. Unfortunately, wood is highly flammable. The installation included a movie theater, and at that time, the projection lamps were fueled by ether. Refueling the ether, a worker made the mistake of lighting a match. The ether caught fire, and the fire extended to the whole installation. There were between 121 and 135 victims, according to different sources, which vary because the bodies of some people believed to be in the bazaar were never found. Most of them were women, including the Duchess of Alençon, who was the sister of the famous Austrian Empress Elizabeth, popularly known as Sissi, and featured in several well-known movies. The fact that many victims were well-known aristocrats, artists, and part of Paris' richest families made the fire one of the most commented upon disasters of the century. Unfortunately, the comments in France did not testify to a national unity in the face of a horrible tragedy. These were years of social struggles and of religious conflict between the Catholic Church and the state. A famous writer who liked to be hyper-provocative, Léon Bloy, wrote that this had been God's vengeance against the French rich who oppressed the poor and believed that they can wash their conscience with a well-publicized act of charity performed once a year only. At the funeral, in the presence of the French President of the Republic, the Catholic preacher also interpreted the fire as the punishment of God for the corruption and anti-Catholicism of the government. This famous disaster may offer the opportunity for 3 short remarks about our webinar. First, without looking for metaphysical explanations, which belong to a literary genre that used with moderation may have its merits, modern historians tell us that the disaster happened because early movies projection did not have security standards. They were immediately introduced after the Bazaar case. Often, the lack of preventative measure is the immediate cause of disasters. I am reminded here of the good work of TIGMEN during the COVID epidemic. While insisting on their teachings about conscience as a compass that should also guide us during disasters, TIGMEN proposed 5 dos, 3 don'ts, and 6 tips as effective preventative measures, easy to adopt and capable of saving lives. Second, France was probably unable to learn the lessons of the disaster because of the lack of social harmony prevailing at that time. This is another important teaching of Taiji Men. Conscience and love brings social harmony, but when conscience in society is lost, social disharmonies causes injustice and disasters. Third, one of the reasons the disaster of the Bazaar was followed by controversy rather than national unity is that Catholics had been affected by measures restricting freedom of religion or belief in France. This measure not only hit religionists, but create disharmony in society in general. In this sense, Taiji Men's struggle for freedom of religion or belief and against the injustice imposed on them preserves social harmony and benefits all Taiwanese. It is also, as this webinar will surely prove, their way of testifying to charity and love. And now, before giving the floor to the first speaker, it is my pleasure to introduce a video.
At the riverside of Mississippi, World Conference of Mayors, the United Nations of Mayors, is taking place at Hilton New Orleans Riverside. It gathers participants from all around the world to discuss peace, love, and economic prosperity.
We're so happy to see all of you, and welcome to the World Conference of Mayors, United Nations of Cities.
Love and peace! We are together!
The World Conference of Mayors, WCM, the United Nations of Cities, kick off with an uplifting drumbeat to invigorate all participants from 10 countries. The theme of this year's conference is We Are Together, collaborating for peace, love, and economic prosperity in the cities of the world. As WCM serves as a bridge to connect influential leaders, the president of WCM, Johnny Ford, emphasizes that they are taking concrete actions to improve people's lives.
We're not a conference that just talks, but we're concerned about action that help to improve the quality of life for people. We come together and we develop resolutions to implement those international positions taken by the United Nations. They pass the global policy. We execute the global policy where? In our cities.
During the 4-day conference, some pressing issues that the world is facing are being discussed, including Haiti reconciliation and redevelopment, drug abuse, and other topics surrounding trust, trade, tourism, technology transfer, Twin Cities, treasury, and training. The president of the Federation of World Peace and Love, FOPAL, Dr. Hong Daozi, is invited to speak on the topic of the redevelopment of Haiti.
良心是关键的答案。城市的领导人能够依据良心施政，以人民的福祉为依归，就能减少政府部门之间的空转，减少可能违反人权的政策。
A Love and Peace Gala, organized by FOPAL, is one of the highlights on the second day of the conference. Through cultural exchange and bell-ringing ceremony, people come together to praise love, peace, and conscience.
My wish, and that is for all people of the world to become citizens of diplomacy and peace, one person at a time.
I'm promoting peace, unity, and reconciliation globally. And I want Haiti to be in peace. It started in Haiti, but Haiti can become in peace, in love, and harmony, because there's so many things going to Haiti. So that touched my heart, encouraging me more to do what I'm doing in Haiti.
It was unbelievable, not only the theme about love and peace, which is really needed in this world, but just the communion, you can feel it in the room, that the hearts are together and that we are one indeed. First, listening to the speech of Dr. Hang, really there's a lot of wisdom in the speech. I think that not only for everyone, to the common people, to the leaders, to everyone.
As influential leaders take conscience-driven actions in their respective fields, the positivity will be connected and expanded from individual, communities, cities, countries, and to an international level. Ilani Chelsea Chen, New Orleans.
And now, after this interesting video, I will now introduce the first speaker, Davide Suleiman Amore, an Italian lecturer in literature and history in a high school, a historian of religions and medievalist philologist. He is also the secretary of the As-Salam Islamic Cultural Association and sometimes serves as imam of its local mosque. Davide Suleiman Amore, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you can hear me well. My paper will be about charity in Islam and how Taiji Mendizi embody its essence with their actions. Charity, known as sadaqah or zakah in Islam, holds a profound and integral role within the faith. The concept of charity is not merely an act of giving, but rather a spiritual obligation deeply rooted into the teachings of Islam. It reflects the principles of compassion, social responsibility, and solidarity with the less fortunate, thereby fostering a sense of community and empathy among believers. Zakah, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is a mandatory form of charity that requires Muslims to give a portion of their wealth to those in need. It is both a financial obligation and a means of purifying one's wealth and soul. Zakah is calculated based on a certain percentage of one's accumulated wealth, and it is distributed to specific categories of recipients outlined in Islamic jurisprudence, including the poor, the needy, debtors, and travelers, among others. By fulfilling this duty, Muslims acknowledge the transient nature of worldly possessions and affirm their commitment to uplifting the marginalized members of society. Sadaqah, on the other hand, is a voluntary act of charity that can take various forms, such as donating money, offering one's skills, or aiding those in need. Sadaqah is not limited by rules or calculations and is considered a means of seeking blessings and personal growth. It embodies the spirit of selflessness, kindness, and generosity, reflecting the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who said, as reported in Sunan Abi Dawood, Hadithana Muhammad ibn Kathir, أخبرنا سفيان عن أبي مالك الأشجعي عن ربيع بن حراش عن حذيفة قال نبيكم صلى الله عليه وسلم كل معروف صدقة, which means your Hudayfa said, your prophet, may peace be upon him, said, every good act is a sadaqah, almsgiving. The concept of charity in Islam extends beyond financial contributions. It encompasses the notion of giving with a pure heart, free from any desire for recognition or reward. The act of charity should be performed discreetly, protecting the dignity of recipients and allowing givers to cultivate humility. This principle aligns with the Quranic verse that states, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم, which means you shall never attain active goodness unless you spend from what you love. Whatsoever you spend, Allah is fully aware of it. Sadaqallahu Mawlana al-Azim. Islam emphasizes the interconnectedness of humanity, highlighting the responsibility believers have towards their fellow human beings. By practicing charity, Muslims recognize that their wealth is a blessing from God, and that sharing it with others is a way of expressing gratitude and acknowledging the common humanity that binds us all. The act of giving is not seen as a burden, but rather as an opportunity to participate in the collective effort of alleviating suffering and promoting social justice. Furthermore, charity in Islam goes beyond providing immediate relief. It also encourages the establishment of sustainable systems that uplift communities in the long run. These can include initiatives for education, healthcare, and infrastructure development, all of which contribute to the holistic well-being of society. All the above is clearly reflected in the historical path of the Taiji men and the personal story of Dr. Hong. They have always responded to the tribulations and adversities that gradually struck them through charity, love, justice towards their neighbors. All this has led them from being a local reality to being international players in the historical events of mankind. In other words, by showing charity, love, and justice, they have enriched themselves and have enriched us too with their example. And not only spiritually, so much so that new academies around the world will soon be inaugurated, especially in the United States, despite the losses they have suffered in their homeland. In conclusion, the concept of charity in Islam transcends mere financial transactions. It encompasses a deep spiritual dimension that emphasizes compassion, selflessness, and community building. The practices of zakah and sadaqah reflect the fundamental values of Islam and serve to create a just and caring society. Through acts of charity, Muslims demonstrate their devotion to God and their commitment to fostering a world characterized by empathy and shared responsibility, which are all values shared with the Taiji men. 谢谢.
Thank you very much, Davide Suleiman Amore. And now I will introduce the second speaker, Massimo Introvigne, a well-known Italian sociologist who serves as managing director of CESNUR and the editor of the religious liberty magazine, Bitter Winter. Dr. Introvigne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stefania. And indeed, when we hear the word charity, the first image that comes to our mind is giving charity to the poor and the needy. And that's certainly a worthy enterprise, and even one that needs to be defended today against those who regard giving charity as paternalistic and distracting from the fight for social justice. The poor and the needy need our work for social justice, but they also need to be given charity. However, in the Christian tradition, as in several other religions, and we just heard the same about Islam, charity is much more. And I would like to comment today a very famous Christian text, the beginning of the 13th chapter of Paul the Apostle, first letter to the Corinthians. I quote, "Though I speak with the tongues of men and angels and have no charity, I become a sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have no charity, it profits me nothing." It is clear in this text that charity has a different meaning from giving to the poor. Apostle Paul writes that I can give all my goods to the poor and still lack charity. In fact, I have deliberately quoted the venerable King James English translation of the Bible. In modern English versions, the word charity is substituted by love. Although the Latin text of the Vulgate uses caritas, whose most literal translation is indeed charity, the original Greek has agape, which supports both translations. But the problem is not so much whether we translate agape with charity or with love. The fact is that charity and love are one and the same. The Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches that charity is, quote, infused by God into the souls. It gives us the capacity to love God, to love fellow human beings, and perform virtuous deeds. In the same first letter to the Corinthians, listing what Christians call the three theological virtues, faith, hope, and charity, Apostle Paul wrote, "Faith, hope, charity, these three. But the greatest of these is charity." The famous 17th century French Catholic philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote that, quote, "The infinite distance between bodies and spirits is a figure of the infinitely more infinite distance between spirits and charity. All bodies together and all spirits together and all their productions are not worth the slightest movement of charity. The latter is of an infinitely higher order." Charity for Christianity is particularly in the Catholic tradition the innate compass directing us to love and good deeds. Although charity and conscience can be distinguished, Charity is the functional equivalent of a good conscience. And we have seen that the charity and love are the same. Although rooted in a different tradition, this is also the central teaching of Dr. Hong Dao-tzu, the Shifu Grandmaster of Taiji Men. Conscience and love, or charity, are not synonyms, yet conscience is the wellspring of love, in the words of Dr. Hong. In his declaration for the movement of an era of conscience, we read that, quote, conscience is the key to inspiring kind hearts and good deeds. Conscience will lead to happiness and blessings of people and other species. Conscience is the wellspring of love and peace, end quote of Dr. Hong. And back to Paul the Apostle and the first letter to the Corinthians. Paul adds that charity rejoices not in the iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Here we see that charity and love are not empty or sugary words, better reserved for Italian melodic songs, and I have next to me somebody whose last name is Amore. So that's absolutely the case. Charity is indeed political. It denounces iniquity and struggles for truth. Catholic Pope Pius XI once stated that politics is the highest form of charity, a sentence that subsequent popes have often quoted. In fact, both Pius XII and Paul VI quoted it so emphatically that they are sometimes wrongly credited for having created it, while this honor belongs to their predecessor, Pius XI, in a speech to the leader of the Catholic University Federation of December 18, 1927. Again, we read in the Declaration for the Movement of an Era of Conscience that, quote, conscience leads to God governance. Only conscience-driven policies, complemented by conscientious administration, can benefit and stabilize the society. The opposite is also true. You cannot rejoice in the truth without rejecting and exposing iniquity. The lack of conscience, of charity, of love leads to bad governance, unjust administration, and an unstable society inimical to its own citizens. In our webinars, we propose a good deal of technical analysis of the Taiji Men case. They are all useful, and we should not get tired to repeat that the case started with an illegal raid that led to illegal detentions, continued with an illegal prosecution, and ended up in illegal tax bills and the illegal seizure, auction, and confiscation of Taiji Men sacred land. Although all this is true, it is not the ultimate truth about the Taiji Men case. The case originated from a deficit of conscience, love, and charity among Taiwan's bureaucrats, governments, and perhaps Taiwanese society in general. Hence, Taiji Men's struggle is not about money. It is about restoring love, conscience, and charity. And Taiji Men's, in this sense, is truly the highest form of charity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Introvigne. This concludes the first sessions. I will now pass the podium to Willy Fautré, co-founder and director of Human Rights Without Frontiers, who will chair the second session.
Thank you, Stefania. I had forgotten to unmute. So we're now starting the second part of our webinar. As usual, we will soon give the floor to the Dizzy. But first of all, there will be a video.
Ancient Chinese emperors rescript for penitence. The ancients believed that the natural disaster is a condemnation for the emperor's misconduct and corruption. Therefore, when a natural disaster occurs, the emperor must reflect on himself and issue a rescript for penitence, not only to correct the mistakes, but also to repent and practice in order to obtain heaven's forgiveness and pacify the disaster. Emperor Wu of Han, who pioneered the prosperous Han dynasty, was superstitious about witchcraft and had his prince murdered in his later years. After years of war, which caused a lot of human and financial resources, God sends floods, droughts, and locusts one after another. People began to eat people, and there were starving people rebelling everywhere. After a series of strikes, Emperor Wu expressed his regrets and issued a rescript for penitence, in which he admitted his mistakes, reflected on his conquest strategy, prohibited raising taxes on the people without permission, emphasized agriculture, and allowed the people to rest and recuperate. After that, Emperor Wu ended using the army and stopped all activities that harmed people and depleted the world's resources. Finally, the Han dynasty was able to restart a new opportunity without suffering a humiliating defeat as the Qing dynasty had. In the late Ming dynasty, there were severe droughts in place on the mainland. The Manchuria was looking outward, and civil unrest was widespread. Faced with internal and external issues, Chongzhen was forced to issue a rescript for penitence to the people to admit that the situation was critical. However, he did not show any concrete repentance. The country's situation became worse and worse. Later, Chongzhen issued 5 more rescript for penitence. Aside from condemning himself, he also cursed the entire government and angrily criticized his men's incompetence. He said one thing but did another, despite his genuine repentance. To be honest, the rescript for penitence was nothing more than a blank check for Chongzhen to win people's sympathy, but people would eventually see his true face. As predicted, Li Zhicheng, the leader of peasant rebellions, eventually overthrew the Ming dynasty. There must be reasons for a country's rise and fall. A ruler who knows how to change himself and put his reforms into practice will be able to keep the country in peace for a long time.
Willy, you mute.
Yes, am I? Okay. What's this? No, I'm not in. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I was saying that it was a very informative video, and really very useful to follow the developments that were presented in this message. So today, the International Day of Charity was declared by the UN General Assembly in 2012 and is observed annually on the 5th of September. So we are just on the eve of it. As a reminder, this date was chosen in order to commemorate the death anniversary of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, who had always been engaged all her life in charitable work. And this day has therefore a religious dimension. Mother Teresa was a Roman Catholic nun who devoted her life to serving the poor and destitute around the world. She was born in Skopje in 1910. Skopje is now the capital of the Republic of North Macedonia in Central Europe, but then it was a part of the Ottoman Empire. Little is known about her early life, but at a young age she felt a calling to be a nun and serve through helping the poor. In her book, No Greater Love, she wrote, "It's not how much we do, but how much love we put in the doing. It's not now much to give, but how much love we put in the giving." And also, love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. These were some quotes from Mother Teresa that I found interesting to recall. In 1979, Mother Teresa was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for work undertaken in the struggle to overcome poverty and distress, which also constitute a threat to peace, and she became a symbol of charitable and selfless work. Spreading a message of peace and love does not mean that you will be appreciated and supported by everybody. Love that breaks down the walls between human beings always disturbs the established order and threatens vested interests. Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King, two champions on love and nonviolence, were assassinated. And this should not be forgotten, and they should not be forgotten. Charity can be a dangerous activity. Charity can disturb the established order and lead to all sorts of attacks. Trying to kill a movement financially is one of the means used by public powers, politicians, and various people having vested interests. Mother Teresa experienced that. Enemies of her charity among non-Christians led to the foreign funding for Mother Teresa's, to the ban of the foreign funding of Mother Teresa's charity. Another financial weapon against unwelcome religious or spiritual groups is the abusive taxation, as Taiji Man and Dr. Hong have been experiencing for more than 25 years. In Taiwan, Taiji Man has developed a wide range of charity activities. Tens of thousands of Dizzy have been volunteering for several decades to make the world better and more humane, with their message of love and peace transformed into concrete charity actions. But as I said before, spreading a message of peace and love does not mean that you will be appreciated and you will be supported by everybody. Charity is not welcome either by everybody in Taiwan. As for over 25 years, Prosecutor Hu has been trying to destroy the Taiji Man movement because of personal financial interests and because he is career-driven. We will now listen to the reflections of the DZ about the place that charity has and had in their lives. And the first speaker, the first DC, is Mrs. Maji Huang, a medical device distributor. The floor is yours, Maji.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie. The United Nations has designated September 5th of each year as the International Day of Charity, not only to commemorate the great Mother Teresa, but also to remind citizens and organizations around the world to be aware of and take action to help others through charitable activities. Mother Teresa's life mission was to serve the poor of the poor and for help extension. She made an incredible contribution to disadvantage at the margins of the world through her own modest effort and her strong faith. Her example of goodness and positive influence is still widely admired and remembered today. Even in her later years, when she was viciously criticized by people of different stances, she remained steadfast in her beliefs and continued to do what she thought was right. This also reminds me of my Shifu, Dr. Hondazi, leader of Taiji Men, for whom I'm truly grateful for his leadership in the sustainable project of enhancing the physical, mental, and spiritual health of the world, including the sustainable purification of the mind and sustainable transmission of culture. I have been practicing Taiji Qigong for more than 10 years. In addition to the obvious health benefits, I have experienced greater spiritual development. I deeply understand the value of loving yourself, and only those who have learned to love and influence themselves first will be able to love and influence others. What exactly do love oneself mean? The most essential thing, in my opinion, is to guard one's conscience. I work as a medical device distributor. Taiwan had many severe shortage of epidemic prevention supplies during the later 3 years of the outbreak. The price of these supplies was up to an unreasonable high level at the time, but supplies still could not meet the demand. I had to deal with upstream suppliers to want to make quick money, cut corner, and want us to sell cheap but illegal equipment. At the time, I was under huge pressure from hundreds of customers who were demanding items on a daily basis. And I also realized that many other traders were turning a blind eye to selling defective goods in order to complete for orders. But without hesitation, I returned all defective items and chose to refund customers who did not want to wait or understand. These dishonest vendors were later convicted. As a Taiji did, I have no inner reluctance in the face of this test of human nature, because Shifu always exhorts us to distinguish between right and wrong, and to act with goodness in our hearts and thoughts. Even if we are merely guarding our conscience, we can turn calamity into blessing in a critical situation. Even though we are ordinary individuals, we have an opportunity to realize the grand vision of cultivating oneself, regulating the family, building the country, and pacifying the world because of Tai Month, which echoes the plea that International Charity Day delivers to every citizen of the world. Tai Month is such an unique and precious Asian Qigong martial art practice that it has been honored and praised by many national leaders, international organizations, experts, and scholars. However, it's hard to imagine that 27 years ago, Tai Chi Man was almost wiped out due to the persecution of a few bad officials. For more than two decades, Shi-friendlies have been suffering from the shadow of tax injustice and human rights persecution. Despite the Supreme Court having long since confirmed their innocence in a free trial judgment that they do not award any tax, and they have been awarded compensation by the state for wrongful imprisonment. The process has been filled with bloody and tearful incidents of the state's violence that has seriously infringed on human rights. In something as simple as canceling illegal tax bill caused by the lies and errors of a few dishonest officials has been delayed for 27 years and is still unresolved. These bad officials have disregarded their conscience, jeopardizing human rights and the rule of Taiwan, a country that claims to be a democracy. In my opinion, the Taijiman is unquestionably the largest persecution and stand on mankind's intangible cultural heritage committed by Taiwanese government. I sincerely hope that the Taijiman case will serve as the lesson for the world, the Taiwan government, legal and financial experts and scholars, guided by conscience and governed by the law, and avoid repeating the same mistake. And cherish this Asian Qigong martial art practice that travel around the world and spread the seed of goodness, which is blessing of all mankind. Nowadays, the world is facing a series of serious challenges, including the widening gap between the rich and the poor, which has led a lot of contradiction, conflicts, and injustice. Therefore, in the best of property, which is the common enemy of all mankind, every country and citizen of the earth should recognize that the big self must transcend the small self. And this requires more solidarity and action on the part of every country and organization. In particular, the spiritual property of lack of love is the most difficult form of property. All the action that charity can bring about are the best treatment to mend the serious cracks. Human nature always seeks two things: pursue happiness and avoiding suffering. Therefore, learn how to treat others as we like to do, to be treated and help others to be happy and free of pain is the goal that every citizen of the world ought to think about and work toward on the International Day of Charity. I pray that one day everyone will have the ability to help those in need with their charitable heart. I think this should be the highest state of manifesting charity. Thank you.
Thank you, Maji. Thank you very much. And today we are all united around the emblematic figure of Mother Teresa for her helping the poor of the poor. We don't need to be a saint before starting to help people in need, but it is by beginning to serve such people day after day, despite the difficulties and obstacles, that we are purifying our soul and that we become fully human. Acts of goodness need to be discreet, not to be in the limelight, because too much light might burn the wings of goodness. Dr. Hong teaches you about these risks and how to avoid them by enhancing one's own physical, mental, and spiritual health so that it can be shared with others. Loving oneself is the first step, and it has nothing to do with selfishness. But if you don't love yourself and your life, you cannot share with others what you are not and what you do not. You gave us a good example as a medical device distributor of what it means in practice. It is to refuse to turn a blind eye, but to fight human greed, which makes so many victims in the health sector. And thank you for sharing your testimony. And now I will give the floor to Lin Pei Su, a teacher. The floor is yours, Mrs. Lin.
Hello, everyone. I am Pei Ru. Mother Teresa, voted by Americans as the most respected figure of the 20th century, is no stranger to us. In memory of Mother Teresa, who passed away on September 5, 1997, the United Nations has vested September 5th as the International Day of the Charity. The purpose of the day is to bring awareness to and the action to people, non-governments and organizations and stakeholders around the world to help others through volunteerism and charitable activities. The world is still experiencing many threats, like the war in Ukraine, the past epidemic of earthquakes, flood, global warming, everyday humanitarian crisis, and deserts continue to float. Through the charitable actions, humanitarian crisis can be alleviated by assisting public service in health care, education, housing, and child protection, as well as increasing the right of marginalized and vulnerable groups, and contributing to the advancement of culture, science, and technology, sports, and preservation of the culture and the natural heritage. If we look at the meaning of the charity, charity is showing love for people. Goodness is being kind to people, so as long as it comes from the bottom of the heart to love and do good to the people around you, I think it's charity. My 师父, Dr. Hong Dao, the Zhangmenren of Taiji men, instructed his students to practice qi and grow their heart with selfless love, beginning with love for oneself, then loving people around them, and loving not just one nation, but also the country of others. My 师父 and his students, with one heart and one mind, traveled to all over country, nation on 5 continents in order to promote conscious love and culture of peace. Taiji Men is a non-profit organization committed to improving people's lives. I recall that before Coming to Taiji, I was a closed-minded, selfish, easy to drive on the details, and profit-driven person. However, after many years of practice here at Taiji, and under the guidance of my Shifu, I have become much healthier, both physically and mentally, as well as more joyful. And I am pleased to give and share with others. And I no longer see getting money as the primary goal of my life. I underwent a complete transformation. Not only did my Shifu save my body and mind, but he also rescued my soul. As I serve in education center, when I think of the words, examples, and the teaching without verbal demonstrations of my Shifu, I become urged to take the initiative to care about the implement manners relating to campus education, social holistic education, and the overall system. As a result, I treat each student and parents with respect, care, patience, and equality. In addition to professional process, I instruct my students to love, tolerate, and care for others, care for all those around them, as well as to live in peace with them, hoping to convey the message of Mother Teresa's word. Don't think of the doing great things, but do small things with great love. Taiwan's upness and program is not easy to combine, but the government's concept of the human rights and the legal and the tax system still need to be moderated and reformed. In Taiwan, the Taiji case, following the 228 incident in 1947, which took the longest time and claimed that most victims took place in 1996, which the tantamount to the state's violence in barbaric killers and even killings by evil law. Think about it. Over the past 27 years, the government bureaucrats have been unwilling to admit their mistakes in order to pursue performance and bonuses, which has hindered countless lives and families that could have been healthier and happier. This is not just a tragedy for the Taiwanese people, but also for the society and the country. Taiji and ancient Qigong martial arts Lempai aims to promote the physical, mental, and spiritual health. It roots the Tao wisdom, respect teachers' value, morality, and preserves the inherent cultural traditions. A good culture makes for a good education. A good education makes for a good economy. The entire world is protecting such culture and natural heritage. But Taiwan's government, bureaucrats, and the evil law are so destructive. Mother Teresa said, the positive of love is not hatred, but indifference. Human rights and taxation in Taiwan today need more people to care in order for Taiwan's democracy to progress and its economic to grow. So even though there are still dark corners of the world where no light can be found, I believe that the most precious things about a human being is that there is an indestructible light in everyone's heart. That is the conscience which not only eliminates one's own front, but also send warmth to those who are suffering. As the significance of today's International Charity Day, is not only to save the poor and the needy, but also to help others as well as ourselves. Or I should say that everyone has the obligation to create a peaceful society, to establish the public welfare, and to promote and safeguard the rights of any individual or organization, so that we can illuminate and the dark with our conscience and light up the world with our actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lin Pei Zhu. First, recalling what I said at the beginning of this session, Mother Teresa is the key figure that inspired the United Nations to create a special day for charity. She was declared by the Americans the most respected figure of the 20th century. But as I also said before, the spreading of a message of peace and love does not mean that you will be appreciated and supported by everybody. Love that breaks down the walls between human beings always disturbs the established order and threatens vested interests. In India, Mother Teresa was persecuted by the authorities and the nationalists, who are still very and more than very active nowadays. They were accusing her of attracting Hindus to the Catholic religion by providing free health care and education to poor people, such as the intouchables, but not only. And while hatred may exist, the big enemy of love is not hatred, Mother Teresa said. She said it is indifference. And we should take care not to be indifferent to the pain and the suffering of other people, not being attentive to what is expected maybe from us. And as a former teacher, and you as a teacher, Lin Pei Zhu, you know how students can be in a spiritual, difficult situation. And even if they don't call us for help, we should distinguish that they are in pains and that they should also be held in their psychological misery. And now I will introduce the next speaker, Louis Wu, senior high school student. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm Louis, currently 16 years old and attending high school. September 5th is International Day of Charity, a day to commemorate Mother Teresa's selfless dedication to aiding the impoverished, the sick, and the homeless throughout her life. Her virtuous actions have inspired countless individuals to become involved in charitable work. Also remind us that love and care remain at the core of our world's values. Her acts of kindness, like candlelight, illuminate the darkest corners and bring warmth to both others and ourselves. For many years, Taijimen has journeyed across 5 continents, spreading love and peace to humanity, illuminating the deep-seated desire for peace in the hearts of humanity. They have also promoted Taiji culture of peace, soothing countless souls with their actions and reacting positive energy. I was fortunate to start my practice at the age of 3, growing up within the Taijimen. I have followed my Shifu and learned true martial art from such a young age, applying the wisdom and philosophy of life that my Shifu taught me in my daily life. In such In such a nurturing environment, every one of us who grow up in Taijimen has learned how to teach ourselves, how to cultivate good habits, and how to approach everything with a positive mindset. Even when life presents challenge, which is often the case, we have been told to uplift our spirits, and we find ourselves feeling down. We use the techniques that Shifu taught us to change our thoughts. So when negative thoughts arise, we pause, shift our mental focus, and our perspective transform accordingly. I have also had many opportunities to share the goodness that our Shifu has taught us with many friends and family. With dedication and love, I pass on positive energy. Furthermore, every time when we have group practice, brothers and sisters from all over Taiwan comes together, regardless of weather. It is scorching hot or windy and rainy. They remain resolved and inspired each other during these gatherings. I learned from the strength of my brothers and sisters, and each time I acquire a different kind of skill. Consequently, I have cultivated a fair and grateful heart over time. I sincerely thank our Shifu for providing us with the opportunity to join and learn from him. However, righteous groups of practitioners of Qigong and martial arts has suffered severe human rights persecution by the government for 27 years. Due to government injustice, wrongful accusation by prosecutor, and unlawful tax enforcement by the Nation Taxation Bureau. In order to uphold justice and reveal the truth, we had taken to the street to express our voice. When I first started handing out flyers with the volunteer, I was just an elementary school student because I was doing it alongside volunteers of similar age. I wasn't afraid. I would naturally provide simple explanation and invite people to join and sign petitions. People often ask, why would children like you come to distribute flyers? We will always reply that because it all concerns our future, we must stand up for our rights. On weekends, when we had time, our parents would take us to the street to hold sign banners and gaze with determination at people passing by passing vehicle, hoping to catch the attention and concern of the public with our eyes. And especially on December 19th, the important day for those who have served persecution, we have walked down Kaida Glen Boulevard in front of the presidential office several times. Even when it was pouring rain, we would wear raincoat and continue to stand. The desire for justice and exoneration in everyone's hearts remained unquenchable We hope for build justice and wish for the government to resolve the issues. We shout out appeal toward the president working inside the presidential office, hoping that the president can help us and clean our name. However, after all these years, our case has still not received true exoneration. In 2020, we decided practice location on a hill in Miaoli was unlawfully actioned by the government due to unfair enforcement. On the action day, I was in the front row at the scenes. Despite the scorching weather, all of the brothers and sisters who hold banners, they made by themselves, stating their determinations to defend their home. Our simple request was that the officials sitting in the air-conditioned room could show some conscience and cease the unlawful action. However, that we received was an even worse outcome. As someone who had not yet entered the workforce, I was stunned the whiteness list in different officials bluntly engaged in the illegal confiscation of private property right before my eyes. When the official declared the second auction of failure, it was directly taken over by the Taipei Tax Bureau and the Central District Nation Tax Bureau. When our land was forcibly reclaimed by the government, all of our brothers and sisters finally couldn't contain themselves any longer. They cried out in anguish, and as I watched them, tears welled up in my eyes as well. I felt a deep sense of sorrow of my heart, and the outcome we had all dreaded had indeed come to pass. However, confirmedly believe that justice can always be tempered by time. From the unlawful prosecution initiated by prosecutor Hu, Taijimen has forced misunderstanding, suspicion, and discrimination from the public. Yet today, many illegal and tax experts and scholars has joined us in our quest for justice. I sincerely hope that the full case against the Taijimen can be overturned soon. Although we have entered many trials along the way, it has not deterred our love for this land. Instead, it has made us stronger, transforming our grief into a driving force for government progress and awakening the conscience hiding within the hearts of a few corrupt officials. Our ultimate goal is to reclaim the human rights we cherish the most. Despite facing difficulties and adversity, we have always held steadfast beliefs in truth and values, persistently doing what is right and stand on the side of justice. We actively promote the spread of goodness through numerous changes and setbacks. This challenge has become an inspired force, showcasing our unwavering determination that inspire more people to value human rights and practice learn and dedication. We hope that effort can become a driving force for change in the world, bring about positive transformations. We aim to solve the things of goodness in every corner and continue to illuminate the path ahead as we move forward. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Louis Wu. You were also inspired by the example of Mother Teresa's kindness, who, like candlelight, illuminated the darkest corner of people's souls and conscience and brought warmth to others. Associated with the techniques that Dr. Hong taught you and other disease to transform negative thoughts into a positive and energetic mindset, how to pose, and to shift one's mental focus, you can change the perspectives of people suffering from depression around you. You are young and strong at the same time, and you can use your moral strength to help your classmates and other students who are vulnerable, and to pass on positive energy, confidence, and trust in their future. Thank you very much for your contribution. And I will give the floor to Octavia Kuo, a shipping specialist. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I am honored to participate in this meeting. The International Day of Charity was established with the objective of sensitizing and mobilizing people, NGOs, and stakeholders all around the world to help others through the volunteer and the philanthropic activities. In 2015, the United Nations established the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development, which includes the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and be grounded into 5 critical areas: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. It urges everyone to work together to better the present and the future of everyone on the planet. Governments start requiring companies to implement ESG reports, environmental, social, and government this year, which represent corporate social responsibility. This year, my company's volunteer activity involves assisting visually impaired seniors to do some exercise. During the activity, I have heard about the challenges they face in their daily lives, which allowed the graduate understand the specific area where they truly need assistance. And I have changed my approach to assistance. In the end, they express their gratitude for our environment. I was also thankful to them for providing us with the opportunity to learn about the different groups. Volunteering is something I am very familiar with. Since I was young, my Shifu has encouraged us, Taijimen brothers and sisters, to help her people regarding their health. Some of them are friends and the families of Taijimen brothers and sisters. Even some are strangers from everywhere, but together we engage in acts of kindness, promoting love and peace, and praying for the world peace and happiness. My Shifu initiated in me early on the principle of think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. So I often share moments of joy with my friends, ensuring they have a reason to smile every day. I feel compelled to help associate with conscience. For instance, when I saw the company discarding leftover materials from the production, I thought about repurpose these materials through the charity sales and donate the proceeds to an animal protection association. It's about everyone coming together to do good, implement environmental conservation, and reduce waste. I also continue to strive to improve my own shortcomings and share active method of self-improvement with others. This wisdom of self-cultivation is what my Shifu told me. To practice is to change, and to act is to do. Cultivation is about change. Practice is about taking actions. One quote from Mother Teresa has left a profound impression on me. She once said, "I'm not sure exactly what heaven will be like, but I know that when we will die and it comes time for God to judge us, He will not ask how many good things have you done in your life. Rather, He will ask, how much love did you put in what you did?" I always feel that I have an endless source of love, and this love is motivated by my Shifu paradigm. My Shifu taught us the values of love and peace, emphasizing the importance of helping others and our nation. In 2002, Taijimen initiated the Love and Peace-based human rights education chain with over 460 government agencies and civic organizations in Taiwan around the world responding. More than 500 human rights education lectures were organized in 462 schools of graduate levels globally, planting the seeds of love and peace for human rights education worldwide. My Shifu, along with these, traveled to 101 countries across 5 continents to share love and peace, carrying the bell of the world love and peace. Weighing 240 kilograms to offer blessing for all humanity. They organize blessing events worldwide. On the 4th day after Taiwan's September 21st earthquake, Taijimen held the Love of the World, a gathering for the world peace, to wish for peace and tranquility. The day right after the September 11th terrorist attack, Taijimen held the bell ringing ceremony at the Manhattan MNM television station, to calm the fears and anxiety hearts, inviting many United Nations ambassadors and the leaders of non-governmental organizations to join the bell ringing ceremony. Early this year, the earthquake in Turkey claimed the lives of many Turkish and Syrian people. Taijimen performed cultural exhibition, including mode battle, blessing, martial art, the golden phoenix dancing, combine ancient Taoist wisdom with modern martial art and the artists to pray for Turkey and Syria. They wish for the peace of the living and the rest of the departed, with the angels of the spreading their wings to offer blessing for the all humanity. Encourage everyone to hold on their positivity, beliefs, and find hope. During my super active birthday celebration this summer, international and domestic guests from the all worlds of life were invited to join the bell ringing ceremony. United hearts in good intention for blessing and prayers to bring stable to the current turbulent global environment. Taijimen is an ancient Menpai of Qigong and martial art, where Shifu and deeds united to promote good deeds. However, the Taiwan government has pursued Taijimen's spiritual group by criminal and detection for 27 years. It has become a serious human rights persecution that has shocked the world ridiculous. Until now, the government has not corrected such abuse, mistake, and gave justice. Back to 2007, the Supreme Court found Taijimen not guilty of the tax evasion of a violation of the tax codes. Taijimen has won 18 times in the administrative relief. The Spring Administrative Court issued a judgment number 422 on July 26, 2018, which also recognized the Taijimen as a Menpai of Qigong martial art and several culture, and announced of the inspiration of 7,401 piece of evidence to prove that the gift of respect for Shifu is a gift. As a result, the National Tax Bureau must, in accordance with the law, revoke all previously issued tax bills that were issued illegal. However, the National Tax Bill and the administrative enforcement agencies join hands to forcibly the auction of the nationalized scale land that belong to Taijimen by the government. This is not just a violation of the people's property rights, but also a serious warning sign of the collapse of the rule of law in the country. As the government demands that business adhere to ESG standards, we implore the government to hold itself to the same standards. Failing to correct such a serious error falls far short of the government's standards. We We earnestly request Taiwan government to face this mistake and correct it. Taxation should be based on the legitimate legal pressure and unlawful abuse of the power that persecute the people. We hope that tax justice be real and protect the human rights. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you, Octavia. As you said, the International Day of Charity needs to be celebrated in practice and in action by individuals, but it was also established with the objective of sensitizing and mobilizing people, NGOs, and stakeholders all around the world to help others through volunteer and philanthropic activities. And this is what FOPAL, for example, has been doing for so many years. Volunteering is something Dizzy are very familiar with, as forever, your Shifu has encouraged you all to help people to be engaged in acts of kindness, to promote love and peace. Your Shifu instilled in you early principles of think good things, speak good words, do good deeds, but do that to share them with others, not keeping them for yourself and your personal well-being. Make it contagious. Also, go on putting your intelligence at the service of poor people, as you have done it by recycling leftover materials discarded from production by big private companies. This is a way of implementing environmental conservation and reducing waste, which is beneficial to the quality of life of everybody. And now I will present our last interlocutor, Jimmy Liu, health rehabilitator. The floor is yours.
Hello everyone, I am Jimmy Liu. In honor of Mother Teresa, who died on September 5, 1997, the United Nations has designated September 5 as International Day of Charity each year, with the aim of objectively recognizing and mobilizing people, non-government organizations, and stakeholders worldwide to help others through volunteering and charitable activities. Admiring Mother Teresa's compassion acts to aid the suffering poor and needy with all her heart and soul, she brought hope to the weak and inspired people's benevolence and actions. The world is sick. Natural and man-made disasters continue to occur, with fires, floods, earthquakes, and wars spreading around the world, bringing about many losses of life and property. People are plunged into suffering. Many natural disasters are caused by extreme climates, but behind them there are also human actions without good intentions. Today, as we commemorate Mother Teresa, it is even more essential to spread the charitable attitude. Throughout the years of struggle for justice, democracy, and peace, I have experienced profound thoughts and feelings. Human rights are universal values, and the most serious infringement of human rights tends to involve the government's abuse of public power. I am a Tai Ji Men Dizzy who has been subjected to governmental aggression for the past 27 years, and my hair has turned gray. To convey the demands for justice, I have taken part in countless street protests, hundreds of human rights lectures, and hundreds of court hearings. My Shifu, Dr. Hong Daozu, taught me to make distinctions among right and wrong and truth and falsehoods, and I have followed him all the way around the world to share love and peace, as well as righteousness and positive energy. Domestic and foreign scholars and experts additionally witnessed Taiji Men Shifu and Dizzy's insistence on justice and righteousness, and numerous outstanding folks have joined and continue to speak out in the hope that the rule of law and democracy may be implemented and justice can be reflected. I am honored to be a Dizzy of my Shifu, Dr. Hong Daozu, who has inherited the profound Taiji culture and has made progressive influence on me over the wisdom of yin and yang and the philosophy of life, so that I can be sound in all aspects of my body, mind, and spirit, and understand the principles of the universe related to heaven, earth, and humans. What a wonderful blessing it is to have such a precious Shifu-and-Dizzy relationship. Yet an impromptu human rights persecution created from nothing has destroyed everything lovely. I deeply believe that ethics and kinship constitute a polite and courteous society, which is a culture, a heritage, and a source of social progress, and no one can destroy it. My beloved Shifu and Shirmu have been severely harmed by this fabricated case of human rights persecution. Even my brothers and sisters in Taiji Men are not exempt. That year, I was the division manager of a company, and I was practicing yin-yang wisdom with my master, and I was enjoying a great deal of physical and mental relaxation. When my employer read in the media that Taijiman was involved in fraud, they began investigating my involvement in Taijiman and I was in danger of losing my job. Prosecutor Ho's unfounded accusations against the Taiji Men, coupled with the media's widespread dissemination of false reports, led to the unjust suffering of the Taiji Men. Under the biases of society at that time, some friends and family members also chose to leave the Taiji Men, and some even expressed complaints towards me. It is really embarrassing to be in such a scenario of being unable to make sense of the situation, and having all my family members leave me. My father quit practicing and asked me not to go, which was heartbreaking. Taiwan, which prides itself on being a democratic and free country, is full of corrupt officials that consistently cause human tragedies by falsifying and breaking the law. We all want Taiwan to be better, and the world to be free from the threat of war, natural disasters, and man-made disasters. My Shifu instilled in me the value of carrying out the right thing, and I hope that more people would share Mother Teresa's compassion by banding together to support it. Many forums have discussed the atrocities committed by a few Taiwanese government officials against Taiji Men. What I would like to discuss here is how to rectify the situation so that the government can effectively become honest and clean, and the people can live in a world with more freedom, more rule of law, and more peace. This human rights persecution case appears to be fabricated out of thin air. Prosecutor Ho Kwan-ren is accused of conducting the case without conscience, resorting to spreading rumors, defamation, and even using the media to tarnish the reputation of the righteous Taiji Men. His methods were unscrupulous and lacked evidence. An investigation by the Supervisory Yuan has revealed that Prosecutor Ho committed 8 significant violations, including breaching the confidentiality of investigations, conducting illegal searches, freezing assets, and exceeding his authority by ordering the closure of various Taiji Men facilities in different counties and cities. Furthermore, it was confirmed that the evidence and data in the indictment had significant inconsistencies and did not conform to the rules of evidence. As a result, a prosecution was initiated that did not adhere to the principles of evidence law. The investigation findings have been referred to the Ministry of Justice for strict accountability and disciplinary action. The case has undergone 3 criminal court trials, all of which concluded with a verdict of innocence, no tax owed, and no violation of tax collection laws. Former Minister of Finance Yen Qingzhang has also stated that it's unnecessary and inappropriate for tax authorities to continue pursuing groups that have been judicially determined as not owing taxes. Surprisingly, the final verdict of innocence and no tax owed, which was confirmed by the judicial system on July 13, 2007, has not been adhered to for 16 years, which is deeply unsettling. I am now a practitioner of traditional Chinese health and wellness, and my master has imparted to me the philosophy of yin and yang. I have come to understand that one's physical health, mental well-being, and even spiritual health are all interconnected with it. In practice, I have grasped the essence of it, helping people steer clear of diseases and restoring their health through a holistic approach. Humans are like microcosms, able to encompass the universe, and when rolled up, they withdraw and conceal within the depths. In August 1999, Dr. Hong Taozu delivered a speech titled A World of One Heart, A Wellspring of Happiness, in San Francisco, USA. In this speech, he articulated the path to addressing global challenges, expressing his aspirations and taking practical actions to promote love and peace, with a foundation of conscience. He traveled to over 100 countries across the 5 continents, spreading his message. Although Taiji Men Shifu and Dizzy endured unlawful bullying from government authorities, our Shifu Dr. Hong remained committed to his compassionate nature as a practitioner. He insisted on facing the situation rationally and peacefully, guiding his disciples to travel the world and spread love, peace, and conscience. Through Taiji culture, he joined forces with conscientious individuals worldwide, all working together towards global peace. I have also learned love, courage, and persistence from my Shifu, Dr. Hong Taozu, allowing justice to be manifest. On this International Day of Charity, let us reflect on the words of Dr. Hong Taozu that conscience is the key and the remedy to achieving love and peace. I sincerely wish that everyone has a conscience, and that the world may find peace, returning to a harmonious world without sorrow, fear, war, or suffering as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone.
谢谢大家。
Yeah, and thank you, Jimmy. As you are both a disease and a health provider by profession, you are at an important crossroads to help people in need of physical or psychological assistance, using the teachings of Dr. Hong and your scientific background. With knowledge of a traditional Chinese health and wellness and the philosophy of yin and yang learned from your Shifu, you know that one's physical health, mental well-being, and even spiritual health are all interconnected with it. In practice, you know how to help people steer clear of diseases and restore their health through a holistic approach. Moreover, on this foundation, spiritual foundation, you also have another source of inspiration, which is also a compass, and it is the example of Mother Teresa. With the climate change, the world is getting more and more sick, the world itself. Natural and man-made disasters continue to occur, as we could see on television quite recently. Fires, floods, earthquakes, wars spreading around the world, bringing about many losses of life and property. TV channels show us every day that people are indeed plunged into suffering. Remember the words of Dr. Hong, that conscience is the key and the remedy to achieving love and peace. And I thank you very much for your contribution to this debate and sharing your thoughts with us. And this is the end of the second part of the webinar. I will now give the floor for the conclusions to Mr. Respinti, Marco Respinti.
Thank you so much, Willie, and thank you all for this inspiring webinar on such a peculiar day of observance, very rich and very full of many, as the Americans say, food for the brain, but also for the heart. It has been a pleasure to follow all the presentation, beginning with the scholars and going to the direct testimony as we used to do. It's very important, the direct testimony by Dizzy or Taiji Daisible. So it is my joyful task to offer you, by way of conclusion, some more thoughts on this day, and particularly on the topic, which is the core on the heart of this day of observance, charity. Because I think that charity is the mark of human nature. It is so because charity is love made flesh. It is the reification, a word indicating the act of making the abstract real of the deep affection that unites all humans. It is, in fact, not enough to proclaim love if human beings do not make it touchable. It is not enough to say we love others if we do not render our love a visible act. All testimonies given by Tajuman Dizzy today and in all our webinars, in the series of our webinars, for which I thank CESNUR and Human Rights Without Frontiers. As I said, all testimonies given by Tajuman Dizzy or disciples strengthen this concept through concrete examples from their lives, experiences, and suffering. This means that they made the idea of love real. Since it is love made concrete, charity is coeval to the affection that binds together human beings. As humans are made of both flesh and spirit, the sentiment of love and its reification in charity are intrinsically united. They have always been together since the beginning of humanity. In the Bible, God, and I quote, asked Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain, who had assassinated his sibling and now felt both shame and wrath, arrogantly, quote, answered, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Where is the mistake or the sin in this answer by Cain? It is in carelessness, not having care. Of course, Cain was the keeper of his brother Abel. As all human beings are guardians of our fellow humans, being the keeper of somebody else does not in fact mean stripping others of their liberty and right to self-determination. It means to be always there, if and when needed, spiritually, and when possible, also materially. Guardian, of which keeper, as used in the Bible, is a synonym, is a high word in our human vocabulary. Different spiritual schools employ the word guardian for pointing at a specific quality of no lesser being than angels. Several religious traditions believe in guardian angels. They postulate that guardian angels constantly watch over all human beings. All human beings have their own personal guardian angel assigned to them by God at their conception. Humans can pray and summon guardian angels, make requests to them, talk to them. Guardian angels are powerful, but their supreme power is not the Trump 9/11-like intervention upon receiving a call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like Batman when he spots the bat sign in Gotham City as put in the sky begging for help. Guardian angels' insuperable and incomparable strength is their capacity of always being present, constantly, silently, even if most of the time ignored by the very human beings they guard. Theirs is perseverance at its fullest, and this is a quality that guardian angels derive from God. Charity is then the perseverance of love made visible, tangible, and real. It is not being able to solve all the problems like a superhero. It is the attitude and disposition of the heart to be there, to always be there, even if unseen. Charity, being the practical aspect of love, needs to get at least something materially done, but this is not its core. All the charity in the world would become mere frenzied activism if it was depleted from the basic ability of staying close, listening, sharing the joys and sorrow of other human beings. Charity is the attitude of those who guard their sisters and brothers. It revolves entirely around sharing. I think I have now reached the point today that can be summarized as follows. If love is detached from charity, it becomes the mere feeling of the do-gooder that ends up in just thin air. On the other hand, when one claims to do charity to others without taking into serious consideration their human soul, only a mechanical assistance is performed. At the end of the day, though somewhat helped materially, human beings are left spiritually unsatisfied. We just need to observe doctors and nurses in hospitals. They may coldly perform their duty, or they may genuinely care for patients. Medically, the result may be the same, but at a deeper level, the final intimate satisfaction of their patients would be very much different. If all this is true, charity as love made real is a spiritual feature, but immediately has a cultural connotation. It builds a civilization of love by reciprocally educating human beings to be guardians of one another. I just used a beautiful but inflated expression, civilization of love. It is so often used that it is becoming abused. Still, it is fundamental to use it in its true sense. I just called it a beautiful expression. It is, in fact, beautiful because it conveys the meaning of an edifice that human beings are called to build day by day, step by step, one by one, at the same time, all together. It combines individual efforts and sociability. It is, in fact, about sharing. And it is about sharing through and with love toward the noble end, that of granting human beings a decent environment where they can live in peace. I think this goes directly to the heart of the teaching of Taiji Men's Shifu or Grandmaster Dr. Hong Tao Tse, as I have learned to understand it in these years. Charity is chiefly a cultural act, and as all cultural acts are educational, charity is above all education. It teaches human beings what being humans means and involves, but it does not do it with the opinionated, dismal intellectualism of those who like to patronize. It does it by putting life in common among humans. Now, if charity is cultural, the most charitable act we can perform is cultural in nature. Being love made real, charity cannot tolerate violence, harassment, oppression, abuse, injustice, untruth. At this point, it is all too evident to conclude that Taiji Men, for more than a quarter of a century, has been treated uncharitably, just while its Shifu and Dizi were making the effort of putting charity at the center of all matters human. But one feature distinguishes the charitable Taiji Men, Shifu, and Dizi from their uncharitable persecutors. Taiji Men, Shifu, and Dizi never ceased to believe in charity just because they experienced being treated in an uncharitable way. Taiji Men stood still, resisting, performing unseen acts of love, sometimes remaining silent, always there to testify for those who have eyes to see. Taiji Men made the effort to imitate the virtue of guardian angels, caring even for those who ignore or reject them. Now, at the end, it may look like a paradox, but seeing them now at a certain distance, all the sorrows that Taiji Men, Shifu, and Dizi suffered for so many years may amount to a grand testimony to the invincible power of charity. One day, the persecutors of Tajiman will be forgotten. The persecution itself against Tajiman will eventually be over. What will remain then? The culture of charity that each Tajimandisi upheld against all odds, each of them making a small but great contribution to the concrete edifice of the civilization of love. Thank you. Thank you for your attention also to this final ending reflection. And it is the conclusion, the end, really the end of our webinar today. And it is my pleasure to launch a very peculiar video that we are now going to see together, which again, once more, goes right to the core of our sentiments this day. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being with us.
May this illuminate our inner light, calm our heart and pray